Okay, so I've been listening to your feedback. I know what I have to do. If I want reviews that are really going to get popular, grow the channel, I've got to do it from the driver's seat of my car. So I promise you, so we're going to look at Punisher, Return to Big Nothing, one of my favorite comics of all time. And I promise you there's going to be a limited amount of shots of my lower half here. It's mostly going to be comics. So we're looking at Punisher Big Nothing, and this is a nice hardcover book here. We got some, I've taken the slip cover off because it just doesn't do as well in the heat. And, I'm very interested. I'm excited to show you this because a lot of people do not know this book exists, and it's an incredible story actually here in kind of how we filmed this. This is awkward as hell. Like, no one in their right mind would film this way. This is a terrible way to do it. This is by Stephen Grant and Mike Zeck, and nobody does a better Punisher than Mike Zeck. I mean, look at this. I mean, just look at this right here. This is, in my mind, one of the most quintessential Punisher stories of all time. A lot of people say Garth Ennis is the one who really put Punisher on the map, and nothing against Garth Ennis. His work is incredible. It's great Punisher stories. But this one, I mean, Stephen Grant got Punisher extremely well. This is a really awesome era of Marvel. This is in 1989. Anyway, Punisher is in the dark. What's he doing? He's basically looking through a bunch of boxes of grenades and weapons, and he's doing Punisher things. And so we learn, basically, we're out here in the desert. These trucks are coming in, and there's a deal that's being taken place. So as the deal's going on, we see that the feds are kind of there, lying in wait, and the deal, this trade's happening here, and the deal kind of immediately goes south. We see that, it's going to go bad. And, of course, gunfire erupts and everything else. Punisher knows it's his time to move. These I won't read all these to you, but it's great, good Punisher kind of inner dialogue. Amateurs, professionals would bring an army. Even when they break the rules, they pick the wrong rules to break. Rules for games, this is war. Forget the rules, forget the odds, protect your own. That's the only law. War is guts, chance, goal, sack. I mean, badass. I mean, this is somebody you can get by. So the Punisher comes out basically in the midst of all this gunfight and basically mows everybody down. Both sides, everybody's getting taken out here. And I mean, just some crazy violence. Punisher being Punisher. So this is a member of the FBI. He notes that they say he never kill cops. Help me. So Punisher, does live by his code. He basically takes the guy in, kind of learning about his story. And as we're learning about this deal gone bad, the Punisher had been tracking. Then we hear a name come out, Gorman. And this is somebody Punisher remembered. So this comic is kind of in two parts. And we immediately get into the other part, which is a flashback to the Punisher's time in the Marines back when he was at, basically, I think this is Pendleton is where it was. But anyway, they called it Big Nothing. And it was, they were waiting to go to Saigon for the Vietnam War. And so we see kind of the Punisher as a brash, as Frank Castle, kind of not a Punisher we recognize, but we see how he's formed, basically immediately taken out by Gorman. And we learn a little bit about that. The guy in the FBI dies, and the Punisher realizes, let nobody go to waste. We've got his credentials here, and the Punisher is going to go check this out. So back in Pendleton, we see the Gorman is here. Of course, he's aged, and he's running this operation. The Punisher's going to charge in and try and take him out. So we get some back and forth. Gorman's looking for, he remembers the Castle, who had the nickname of Big Nothing. And he is, we basically get more flashbacks of kind of how the Vietnam War went and the dirtiness of this war. So Castle, who was really good at his job when he was on point, nothing got past him. But on that day, Gorman basically frames Castle that, hey, you weren't paying attention. Some guys got in, killed all the troops. And this helps kind of disillusion Frank Castle of what's going on and kind of the dirtiness of his own thing. He notes that, Castle didn't challenge him. His wife had a baby on the way. It was Cambodia. He wanted to live to see it home. So, Castle himself are starting to make some compromises to himself. So we're seeing kind of the evolution of the Punisher. But anyway, Punisher shows up, uses fake ID, gets in there, immediately kind of finds Gorman, but he's quickly outmatched and taken out. So, they're going to go dispose of the Punisher, classic. Let's take him to the desert and deal with him. But the Punisher being the Punisher, he's able to get out and escape kind of, certain death. And basically he knows where they're going. So they found Nevada, basically a prostitution house where he's going to, these guys are going to head to. So Punisher's going to get there first. So we have the Punisher head up to, this house, the bunny ranch, basically. Howdy. And he's going to go in and basically put a trap in place and wait for them. And, it shows kind of the stoicness. But anyway, this is one of those moments of the Punisher you don't see other places. The girl's coming up to him. It's like, you want it rough? No, not rough. I remember the way Maria smelled, lilacs and spice. Maria being his wife that was killed, of course. And all women smell like Maria to me. In the dark, all women feel like Maria. It's like, oh, wow. Hey, what's it? So anyway, and we get a little bit of flashback to the Punisher and his family. And of course, the Punisher's, done his deed, puts on his costume, and in comes the people that he's been laying in ambush for. So of course they show up and they're jerks, and the Punisher makes really rapid work of them. And we get some nice kind of back and forth there. And we even get, I'm going to kind of move away from that panel. We get some nice, some questioning going on. And then he's shot by one of the girls who doesn't want to be abused anymore. And so you get some complexity there. Off in what's presumably either Vegas or Reno. It has the feeling of kind of Reno, but we're not really saying. But anyway, the Punisher then tracks them down to this club. He's going. Keep in mind, by the way, we haven't had a ton of pages. I didn't do a page count on this thing, but it's not a huge little graphic novel. It's relatively small, and you get a ton of story. We've already changed the location several places. We've got some flashbacks. Punisher is now in Vegas. He's showing up to basically draw out the bad guys. So he goes, threatens the roulette guy to just basically win at the table until people are going to come and want to deal with him. So they do. They recognize who it is, and they try and run. But once again, the Punisher's one step ahead of him. He's basically chained up the car, kidnaps Gorman's second in command, and now he's got one last thing to do. He's got to go find some of the people who were involved in this thing. So anyway, now the Punisher's going to break into a high-security prison. So the Punisher basically goes in, kind of sneaks into this place, takes the costume of a guard. We get a little bit more flashback on how Gorman smuggled out Cambodians and basically betrayed his own troop. So it's a really great kind of sequence here about, again, more of the disillusionment of the war and everything that Castle went through. And we get this nice sequence where he finally catches up with some of these guys. The police know he's there. He basically holds them off. There's a ton of dirty cops. We get some of the story out, find out where Gorman is, learns more about the plan of what he's been doing and how kind of this stuff's been going on. And Castle recognizes his own complicity that, basically they had smuggled drugs out of these dead soldiers that Gorman had murdered. And so, all those boys who are basically used by a horrible situation here that the Punisher realizes. So he takes care of that, busts out of the prison, and now there's only one thing left to do. He's got to go have his final confrontation with Gorman. Gorman knows he's coming, still doesn't really realize the threat of the Punisher, thinks he's weak and everything else. So he's getting his gun. He's got no problems. Out pops the Punisher. And something's odd, he's just firing wildly, which does not seem like Frank Castle. So he's just going about his business. And Gorman kind of very easily just, blows him up. But when he goes down to investigate, he discovers, it's the second in command. He basically, Punisher dressed him up in this outfit, taped the gun to his hand with the finger on the trigger to basically draw him out. And that allows Frank Castle to get the drop on Gorman. I don't know where he had that second Punisher suit hanging around. I guess he just carries to him in a suitcase. Anyway, so Punisher makes short work of him. we get kind of a, back and forth, and then Gorman's like, I'll take my chances in court. Here's somebody, again, who's lived an entire life of manipulating the system, believes he's above it. And so you see this different kind of evil come into play. And the Punisher is, of course, the Punisher. So you know where this thing is going. You're nothing, you're a zero. What do you have, Castle? What do you ever have? Frank Castle died with his family. Castle's dead. I'm the Punisher. And, then you get his kind of conclusion. They laugh at the law. The rich ones who buy it and twist their wins. The other ones who have nothing to lose, who don't care about themselves or other people. All the ones who think they're above the law or outside of it or beyond it. They know all the law is good for is to keep good people in line. And they all laugh. They laugh at the law, but they don't laugh at me. And this is a story. So a short little story. This is not many pages. Again, in today's world, this would be, 14 issues of decompressed storytelling. But it is, it's an incredible, it's the heart of what the Punisher is about. We learn a little bit about his past, about what made him the Punisher. We see a good classic adventure here of him basically, on his mission, why he's different, fundamentally different from other heroes, why he's not Spider-Man, not Captain America, where he's not a good guy, but he's compromised in his own ways. And it's an incredible book. This is Punisher Return to Big Nothing. I should have kept the slip cover on it so you could see kind of what this looks like. But they have this in soft cover, hardcover, digital, a lot of different ways to get this. I went through this very quickly. This is just great dialogue, great characterization. To me, this is if you're a fan of the Punisher, this is a story you need to read. This is the story, which really kind of identifies the character, what he's about, and and both the goods and the bads, the dark, the grittiness of it. Absolutely incredible story. So highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. Hopefully this is kind of one of those hidden gems that just doesn't get a lot of airplay, but really a great story. I just hope I didn't spoil it for you. So please do check it out. Let me know what you think. Did you read this before? Have you seen this story before? Let me know your thoughts on it. Like, subscribe, as always. Let me know your comments. And hey, thanks for watching.